I've reached the conclusion that somebody that is experienced with female nature can tell a lot about where the maturation level of another man is based off of not only his knowledge of female nature, but also his proclivity to move toward either this state of bliss or bitterness when it comes to their female or understanding female nature from his perspective. It's almost like there's this line, and above this line, you're going to be too bitter to understand female nature to its fullest. But then on the flip side, below that line, you're going to be too naive and too blissed out around women. And there's that line, which I would assume be part of the narrow path, maybe, if you want to look at it like that, is to understand that you don't need to blame female nature for the way, obviously, God made them to be that way, but you also don't need to be naive or bitter about it either. There's that line that you want to walk and that you want to strive for in between. Because you might know a lot about female nature, but because you are stuck in a bitter level or bitterness in regard to understanding it, you might be above that line of bitterness. And if you are not understanding the female nature, but so naturally you're going to have this tendency to move toward thinking that women are sunshine, rainbows, lollipops, and everything spice and all things nice, sugar and spice and all things nice, then you're going to be in that naive category. And you don't really want to be in either. And so that line is really where you want to be. It's the understanding of female nature, but not necessarily blaming them about it. And you don't need to judge these kinds of women. You just need to understand what the game is, and you need to understand how they're operating. And why I'm talking about this is because in this video, I want to overlay with the theme of the video being how foreplay is the modern woman's, foreplay for the modern woman is mind games and verbal violence or manipulation. And the reason for this is because they've been taught for the entire generation that being fake, being entitled, being narcissistic, if you can post half-naked pictures on social media and get more likes than whoever else, you are more extraordinary than anybody else. And so this might cause a lot of men who maybe the men are attractive. Maybe the men do have a business going. They have a lot of things. They're smart. They're in shape. They have all these things, but they don't necessarily get the clout that a lot of these women do, even though the women are not even doing anything. They're just posting a half-naked picture of themselves. It may seem that the woman is more valuable to the eyes of society than the man, when in reality, that man who might have a business that really can save people's lives, or a blue-collar job where we cannot live without blue-collar workers, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if anybody hasn't told you that, but we can't live in a world without blue-collar workers, and about 90% of them are men. So, if not more so in certain kinds of blue-collar jobs. So, because for example, bricklayers are 99% men. And we need bricklayers, we need stonemasons, we need construction builders, we need these different kinds of things. And so women will completely overlook this. And because they've been programmed for so long to believe that they are truly entitled to something more, then what's going to happen is they are going to act in a way that tries to make you chase them. And of course, you probably ought to probe a little bit as a man. I don't know if I necessarily like that word, but it is kind of your job as a man to vet the woman and kind of move her consciousness and be the cause of her emotions. If you can't do that as a man, you're not going to be able to influence her at all to do anything that you're going to be doing. And remember, to be in submission as a woman is to just be in submission to the man's mission, right? This is something that a few of the other, I don't want to call them manosphere content creators have talked about, but this is something that people that are not necessarily red pilled but not blue pilled, they're not necessarily purple pilled or whatever, they don't really have a red pill or whatever, they are just themselves and they understand the game. And when you get to a point where you can identify why women will say certain things and do other things, because a lot of men will be confused about this. They'll be very confused. I've had many men over the past couple years of doing consultations where they got involved with women that they knew were red flags or that they knew could have potential red flags. And they wanted to be with them because, well, they thought that maybe she would change with time and whatnot. And this is this is something that a lot of men want to believe. And I think it is the case that there are more men that are wanting a long-lasting relationship than there are women. And the reason for that is not just based off of the statistics with the marriage and the divorce rates, but also just on personal experience, what I've seen in general. And if you don't know about the kind of foreplay that women in, let's say, shout out to Rom Wills, who has talked about this, the sexual underworld, okay? The sexual underworld is basically where if a woman is in a relationship or she's married and she dresses like she's not and she's trying to entertain other guys like she's not in that relationship or marriage, she's likely to participate in the sexual underworld. And I think that this is something that I call it the shadow world personally. I'm sure there are other people that may have already discerned this, but I call it just the shadow world because people can operate in the shadows, and it's kind of like the it's like the dark side of the internet, basically, where instead of the dark web, it's like the shadow web of reality. Instead of, because anything can happen in this public sphere, but it's hidden in the shadows, it's hidden in plain sight. It's like there's this veil. And women will oftentimes, you'll see the kind of manipulation that women do is, especially with the men that they're with, if they're trying to get with you, for example, and you know this, you don't necessarily say things because you're just trying to be observant, but I've noticed that if you just have this cadence of not wanting to judge a woman, and you really don't, like you're just there to be there and have a good time when she's there, and if she's not there, that's cool too. Women are naturally going to be more drawn to that, and it's almost as if your indifference toward her is going to magnify her attraction in ways that you didn't even think was possible, even with women that are in relationships or married. Now, of course, I follow Christ, and I absolutely do not condone this kind of behavior. I've gotten more married women in the past couple of years that have tried to play these manipulation games, not just with me, but with their man in the room. You know, they'll say one thing to the man, and then while they're hugging him or after she kisses him, she looks over at me and gives me a wink, or she gives me this very seductive look. And you've got to be able to understand what is the difference between a woman's sexual look and her public face. She's going to be very different. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you don't know what I'm talking about. It's fine. But the men that do know what I'm talking about, they're going to be 100%. They absolutely know. This is the kind of thing where you only know about this stuff if you kind of experienced it. Otherwise, it would be like trying to explain salt to somebody that's never tried salt, or trying to explain color to a blind person. It's just not going to make sense. It's just not going to work. So you've got to be mindful of this, and you've got to be mindful of how the modern woman, if you want to look at the modern woman as an archetype, how the modern woman moves. Now, of course, not all women are like this. Not all women are going to be choosing manipulation games as their way of foreplay. But these women that operate in the shadow world, as I call it, and the shadow web, let's say, because they'll be messaging people on Instagram and delete the messages. Like, I've literally heard people talk about this stuff, and I've seen it. Not in my own personal life, but women have tried to reach out to me that are in relationships, not necessarily through Instagram so much, because the only Instagram that I have is for Regal Change, and that's more for business. It's not necessarily for my personal. I don't even know if I have. I think I have Facebook, but I am never on Facebook, and I only made it as part of my job that I had like 2 or 3 years ago. And the only people that I have as a friend on Facebook are the people that were working there at the time. I don't even know. I haven't even checked it for a while, so who knows what's going on there now. But that's the only kind of personal social media that I have at this point. Everything else is business-based. My X is business-based. YouTube, obviously, is business-based. Rumble is business-based. Instagram, business-based. TikTok, now that TikTok is back, business-based. I don't do anything like personal for social media because I understand what social media is. I understand that you're the product in social media, and I understand that if we want to really move toward an online socialization process for godly people, we have to understand that, well, there are going to be certain ways to move in the world, and there's going to be certain ways of moving in the world that you need to be aware of. And it's not necessarily a matter of trying to degrade anybody or put anybody down. It's just knowing what is what and what is and how it is. And that's that. You've just got to be mindful of this stuff and just be aware of it. And a lot of men may not even understand what I'm saying in this video, and that's fine. As I mentioned earlier, but the men that do get it will absolutely understand what I'm saying. So if a woman is giving you this seductive look while she's with her boyfriend or her husband or whatever, just stay away. Like, it's not worth it, man. Just don't do that. Number one, you don't want to be a home wrecker or anything like that. You don't want to be labeled as that because you never really know who you're going to get involved with. Some of these women out here will try to entice you and lure you into that seductive shadow world only to destroy you and try to monkey branch over to you. There was a woman, I've told this story before on my channel, but a woman that I didn't find out she was married until a month or two into the talking stage. And when we finally, when the cat was finally out of the bag, I was saying, you know, we're done. Like we're whatever this is now, I don't know what this is, but I'm out. And she tried to get the cops called on me, tried to tell the people in her family that I was trying to do what she was trying to do to me. And so she was so hurt by the rejection that she was trying to make my life a living hell. And this was a few years ago, and the woman was older than me. She was 29 at the time, and I was just barely fresh 25. And I didn't know, 24, 25. I might have been, no, I was 24. So I was almost 25. And so there were certain things that were happening, and I just had to acknowledge, like, wow, okay. I didn't even know women that were married were capable of doing stuff like this, because we're taught as men that this kind of manipulation is women just don't do this kind of a thing, right? That's what we're taught as men. We're really taught to believe women are these innocent angels that don't do anything, that are entirely pure, and it's like, not at all. And even the women that are married now that have tried to talk to me about how they don't like the hookup culture and stuff, I know they've looked at me like they want me like that. Like, I know that, and it's like, you think that I don't see what you're doing here? Like, because once a woman sees that you're actually a bit more maybe godly or conservative, let's say, she might be, oh, okay. And she'll take a step back and she'll try to, again, it's that public face that she'll try to put on, that public image that she'll try to put on, because she now realizes, oh, he's not judgmental. He is a bit of a bad boy and kind of unpredictable. He is a godly person, though. So he does have value and he does have principles that he follows. Like some of these guys think that women are stupid. They are absolutely not stupid. They know exactly what they're doing most of the time. Most of the time, they know exactly what they're doing. They don't know why they do what they do, though. That's sometimes the key thing, is they don't always know why they do what they do, but they know what they're doing. And it's because they're just caught up in, they're very emotional creatures, and God made them this way. And I'm not trying to degrade anybody here. This is just the way that it is. And so you've got to be very careful about some of these women out here, because they will try to lure you into the sexual underworld / shadow world. And the only thing that you can do to steer away is to be aware and make sure that you're just staying on your grind. And again, like, you want to be open. You want to have that heart open, but you also want to make sure that there's an impregnable shield of faithfulness around your heart, because if there is anything that a woman will see a crack in that shield, and she wants you, oh Lord, she will go after it. Don't you worry, she will. She absolutely will. So you've got to be mindful of that. Be courteous, be kind, be professional, but don't take any crap, okay? So with all that being said, I do hope that this was a useful and insightful video for you guys. If you do want to join the Regal Change Academy, we have the free Discord channel as well as the paid community. And we also, in the difference between the two is we have the ebook available, a short ebook that I just put out this last week in both of the communities. But if you don't want to be in the paid community just yet, you can check it out in the free community for the Discord channel. Links are in the description box below. And then we have some meditation guides, some fitness guides as well, some fitness regimens, all those kinds of things. And then in the paid community right now, we're finishing up the Art of War class series. We have weekly Bible study calls, as well as a weekly assembly call, Regal assembly call, where we talk about a variety of different topics and subjects. We also have classes that you can do on your own time for entrepreneurship, AI optimization, godlike savage workshops, meditation, dream interpretation, the 7 deadly sins, you name it. At this point, we've got something for everybody. So that's one of the reasons why we want to have that. We've got more things coming down the pipeline that I'll be announcing later this week or next week as well. I do appreciate you guys tuning in, and I appreciate everybody moving from the YouTube platform over to X, Rumble, and Instagram recently. I do appreciate your guys' extra support, and peace be with you all. Till next time.